The views expressed and the opinions given by the individual host and their guests do not necessarily reflect those of Para-X, its affiliates, or its sponsors.
Oh, hell no!
Whatever.
The following program contains opinions expressed by the Dead Zone. If you find this broadcast offensive, lighten up, candy ass.
What?
Oh my gosh.
It's a radio show.
Hell yeah! That's what I'm talking about.
Power up request received. Initiating systems. Powering up transmitters. Welcome to the Dead Zone.
Wait a minute.
Kill this.
Paranormal Radio Show. Tonight's guest will be Howie Odell, co-founder of the Rift Radio Network, host at the Orion Effect podcast, and founder at ASPS, All Seeing Paranormal Society. He's got a lot of great stories. Looking forward to talking to him tonight. We're going to have Michelle, too, with Paranormal News. But first, we're going to start the night off with Void Vader, Poltergeist.
I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
No one needs me anymore. This is Keith Age, and you're listening to The Dead Zone.
Yes! I found it at last! Marla's Sacred Cauldron. This is the legendary artifact that has been whispered about in hushed tones for hundreds of years, and now it's mine! All mine!
Who dares defile the sanctity of my castle walls? Step away from the cauldron, you impertinent, muddy-metaled maltworm.
Never! I've spent half my lifetime trying to discover your age-old secret of stirring the cauldron.
Oh, for Merlin's sake, that's no deep, dark secret. Just tune into the Para X Radio Network Thursday nights at 9 o'clock Eastern for more cauldron stirring than you can shake a wand at.
Oh, well, in that case, I guess I don't need to take up any more of your time, so I guess I'll be going.
Not just yet. We've got a little unfinished business to take care of.
That's Stirring the Cauldron with Marla Brooks every Thursday night at 9 p.m. Eastern on the Para X Radio Network.
Are you in a band or know of a band that is currently unsigned and looking for airplay for free? We want to hear from you. One of the main goals of the show is to help promote up-and-coming bands and artists as well as our paranormal community. Getting your name out there can be tough, especially these days. Shoot us an email, deadzonebooking@gmail.com. If your music fits our genre, hard rock, 80s, 90s metal, and new metal, we want to help.
Paranormal news.
Hello everyone, this is Michelle with Paranormal News. I found on mysteriousuniverse.org a story titled Supernatural Strangeness at New Jersey's Most Cursed and Haunted Road, written by Brett Swanser. Meandering through dark woods and rural backwaters of West Milford, Passaic County, New Jersey, is the notorious Clinton Road. Named after the original settlement called Clinton, it stretches through roughly 10 miles of mostly isolated, privately owned woodland with very few houses, and it is known for its dark stretches through the spooky forest. Unpaved for much of its run, it is rare to pass any other cars out here, and surrounded by tangled feral woods, it is a spooky place that seems perfect for the setting of some horror movie, and it is perhaps this ominous ambiance that has contributed to its notoriety, as this one lonely stretch of road is absolutely permeated with legends, plenty of spooky lore, and all manner of strangeness. From ghosts to UFOs to bizarre creatures from some nightmare, Clinton Road has it all. One of the more prominent tales from the area is that of a place called Cross Castle. It was built in 1905 by a man named Richard Cross, who settled the area and constructed the stone dwelling for him and his family. This was at a time when the woods and the area were already known for being an ominous, threatening place, with stories of ghosts and witches wandering the gloom already doing the rounds. According to Weird New Jersey, J. Percy Creighton once said of the place at the time, "It was never advisable to pass through the 5-mile woods after dark, for tradition tells us they were infested with bands of robbers and counterfeiters, to say nothing of the witches that held their nightly dances and carousels at Green Island, and the ghosts that then made their appearance in such frightful forms that it was more terrifying to the peaceful inhabitants than wild animals or even the Indians that often passed." This did not detour Cross at all, and he had his castle built, but it would in later be abandoned after Cross's death in 1917 and fall into disrepair before burning down in a fire to leave only the stone skeleton, after that being demolished once and for all in 1988. There are only very faint vestiges remaining of the place today, but the land it sat on has supposedly long been intensely haunted. Before the place was torn down, it was a popular spot for curiosity seekers, and they would often come back with all manner of tales of ghostly phenomena, much of it seeming malevolent. People reported being pushed, shoved, and hit by unseen hands with enough force to leave bruises, and also common are sudden, very potent waking nightmares and unexplained seizures or confusion. Even today, with only the foundations of the castle remaining, poking out of the brush like the remnants of some lost civilization, such reports come in from this spot, and it has also gathered a reputation as being a meeting place for shadowy cults and Satanists who leave behind evidence of their arcane rituals and indecipherable graffiti. One very eerie story was given by a witness to Weird, New Jersey, who says, "I had a friend who lived near Clinton Road. He used to take me on May Day and Halloween's Eve to spy on Wiccans practicing in the areas near his house. The proof I have is more than a kid's flashback of witches. It pertains to what was transcribed on the walls of Cross Castle, and how a historical fact about the writing will reveal that a Satanist movement was using the area for their practices. It was a nice afternoon in 1977. We decided to get our packs, a tent, and a rifle to spend the night up in the woods. I took a journal along with me. When we came upon the castle, we were amazed, as always, at how it stood out in the woods. We entered it and were shocked to learn that someone had put up 2 huge boards with words spelled out in red paint. The nature of the writing intrigued me, so I copied down what the walls proclaimed, and my friend snapped a picture. The journal stayed in a box until 6 months ago, when after my wife's death, I was going through everything and read it. What was once scribbled down in my youth was now revealed as one of the writings of Anton LaVey of the Church of Satan. I went to a local bookstore to match my journal with the Lex Satanicus. I concluded that the tales about Clinton Road were seriously understated. The Satanists who practiced there were not a joke, but a local grotto of people using dark forces to bring forth their evil reign. Now when I go to Clinton Road, I look at everything in a different light." Perhaps just as famous in the area is the place called Dead Man's Curve, in particular bridge that lies along its length. Here it is said that there lurks the ghost of a young boy who will appear if you stop to throw coins into the water below. According to the tale, the boy will materialize to throw the coins right back at you, sometimes with enough force to crack windshields or dent cars, or alternatively leave them lying in the middle of the road. The boy will often appear as a reflection in the water, or as a full apparition walking along the road, and the legend draws in scores of people who come to throw pennies into the water in attempt to summon the ghost boy. Scarier stories involving the ghost boy say that he will try and push you into the water, although it is thought that this is a gesture to help you from being hit by the car that killed him. The ghost boy certainly has plenty of company on Clinton Road, because there are numerous other specters said to call this place home. There are ghostly vehicles that patrol the road, such as the Phantom Camaro and a black ghost truck that will speed up to cars, flash its lights, and then just vanish. 2 ghostly park rangers are said to be seen along the road, especially near Terrence Pond, and there are many shadow figures seen here. One witness has said of the Phantom Rangers, "Much further up the road on the right there are trails that go up the mountain to a lake called Terrace Pond. The pond was crystal clear and great for swimming. We used to camp up there, and we had a really weird occurrence that happened to us. We were camping one night around 1 a.m. and 2 park rangers noticed our fire and walked over to us. They were concerned about the fire, drinking, etc. We asked if our vehicles would be okay where they were and asked if they would be ticketed. They said they were fine and no ticketing would be carried out. In the morning we ventured down the mountainside and approached our cars, and they had 2 summons per car. West Milford Police and Newark Watershed authorities approached us, and we asked them about the park rangers, and they looked bewildered. We then told them that we were speaking with 2 younger men, and they said that we were okay to stay in camp, our vehicles were okay, and we would not be fined. One of the Newark Watershed authorities replied, "What did these park rangers look like, and what were they wearing?" We described their appearance, and the authority told us that there were no park rangers patrolling the property anymore, and the 2 men we saw that night were killed on patrol in 1939. There are myriad of other strange stories tied to the road: secret KKK meetings, mafiosos dumping dead bodies, a cursed druid temple, and many others. Adding to all of this are the various other bizarreness sighted along the road. UFO, mysterious orbs, phantom hounds, Bigfoot, roving bands of albinos, devil monkeys, winged humanoids, and other less definable monsters. There are also numerous reports of lost time, mysterious illnesses, and a general sense of unease, with some people reporting that the atmosphere can be absolutely oppressive and stifling, with some people explaining it as feeling as if being suffocated by pure evil. Why is it that this one little stretch of road should draw to it so much bizarreness? Is there something about the history of the place, the land it lies on, or is it just the spooky legends we innately build up around inherently spooky places? No matter the answer, Clinton Road has gained a reputation as one of the most haunted and strangest places in the state, bringing in numerous paranormal investigators and curiosity seekers. It will likely remain a strange feature of the landscape for some time to come. Okay, so now if anyone that is listening has been to this location, I would love for you to send me an email, and I would like to interview you. So shoot me an email to michelle.deadzone@gmail.com. That's michelle.deadzone@gmail.com.
Good evening. I am Sanitary, and you're listening to the Dead Zone.
Okay, and now back to business.
If all radio stations in town were palm trees, we'd be the one with the biggest coconuts.
Now,
here are the one, the only
Dead Zone.
Okay, let's call Howie. Hello? Oh, we're going to have audio issues. Hey, can you hear me now? All right, yeah. Like I said, we're going to have like a 7-second delay or something like that. Anyway, Howie Odell, the Mad Hatter. How's it going, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you guys?
All right, doing pretty good. So what's going on? Well, first of all, Howie Odell, co-founder of the Rift Radio Network, and you've got quite a few other things under your belt, but let's start off with the Rift. What brought that about? What made you want to do a podcast?
Wow, good question. I've been in music pretty much all of my life. So I used to be a junior editor for Night Moves magazine. It's a music magazine that was here in Richmond, Virginia. And the opportunity to get back in podcasting and taking two things I love, paranormal and music, I was like, man, I can do podcasting. And then I got hooked up with URN. They pulled me in a little bit. I did some work. I worked with Ryan C. Jones on Freaking Awesome Show for him.
Right.
I produced that for a little while. And then I was like, I got the bug.
Yeah.
That was back in 2013, I think. And then the riff just came from that about 6 years ago.
Yeah.
I wanted to do podcasting different. That's the best way I can put it.
Right. Which is kind of the way you look at things, and the reason that you wanted us to be part of the Rift as well, and we will. I guarantee you, we will at some point. We do things a little different too. I mean, listening to a talk show, whatever. It's great for a while, but it gets boring. You need something to spice it up, a little something different, right?
Right. Exactly. And I think that comes to, you realize when you look out in podcasting that it's saturated with so many different shows and everybody's doing it different. And I think that's, again, just like this wonderful show, there's a little spice added to it.
Right.
It's like, how can you promote it out there? What is going to make your podcast different than everybody else?
Right.
Mine's my quirkiness.
Right.
The chemistry between me and Kat and all of our guests, the music, and the subjects. And there's subjects that that are out there that people want to hear about. And that's why sometimes your shows are really high and sometimes that you have lower ratings, but that comes with the people who come along with it.
Right.
But all in all, you know, when we do this, we're doing it for the listeners, but it's also a passion. So the passion creates the podcast.
Right. Right. And we also do ours the way we do ours to help promote local and, you know, across the nation bands that aren't signed, some that are signed, you know, but we do it to help give them exposure too, you know, as well as paranormal.
And I think, yeah, and I think that's great because you're taking two things that are really into the groove of today's society, which is music and the paranormal. Because let's face it, paranormal's gone beyond a little bit of a fad and going into mainstream.
Right.
I saw a first time paranormal magazine on a shelf, and I was like, oh my God, we've done it.
Yeah.
We've got this society, this field has gotten into its magazine in general public. It's not just circulating between the community now, it's out in the general public.
Right.
And I'm like, that is awesome. And now we add this sense of, depending on which way you go, you know, metal or rap or rock or whatever,
right,
you get these artists, much like I went out like you and reached out to some new artists when I started doing this, like Cerebellion, and they were just totally on board. They're a West Coast band, and they're like, dude, we're all in. Right, what do you need from us? I'm like, oh, man, this is awesome.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, and like you were saying, the two go hand in hand in some respect, for at least the metal side. We got a lot of bands that their music is geared towards the paranormal and that kind of thing, and that just helps boost it, you know.
Well, look at it. Think about it this way, Lee. Is now Ozzy Osbourne, the Prince of Darkness, has got an album dedicated to the paranormal, right?
Right.
And that just came out a couple years ago.
Yeah.
And now we had Alice Cooper produce Paranormal.
Right.
So I mean, they see it, they saw it, and they're creating music, and now that's just driving us more going, oh, I love it.
Yeah.
That's more. That's right. Like the gravy to the meat.
Right. Right. That's true. That is true. So, now back to you, the ASPS. Now, how long ago did you start that?
Oh, man. Wow.
Yeah.
I wasn't going to expect you bringing that up.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. You know, ASPS was created in 2011, and it was Ryan C. Jones, myself, Tommy McNeil, Shannon Jones, Danielle Watson, Kristen Whitmer. These were the core. And then we had a girl we call Brit, B-R-I-T-T, stands for Britain, total punk rocker.
Right.
She's cyberpunk.
Right.
And she was just so cool, and she fit in. And then through that period of time, as that group kind of did its circle and did things, and manipulated into several others, and then at one point we disbanded, and it's like, you know, we're not going to deal with the drama. I got ticked off with the paranormal field.
Yeah.
We'll leave it at that.
Right.
But this new generation of SPS that we have now, All Seeing Paranormal Society, is a well-rounded group. You know, I've learned lessons. Dude, I've learned some serious lessons. Not about the paranormal, but more about grouping and energies and how these people have to work together. You don't want to have that disease come into your group.
Exactly, working together,
you know?
working together as a team. Yeah. Yeah, I get you. I get it, man. So that was, I mean, that was
how it came about.
That was way back before that was way back before the new toys and everything came out too. So I mean, you guys are going at 101, right? You know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, and that was before, before the big mainstream hit. But yet it was the second coming, because I had actually created a society that was Commonwealth Research Society prior to that with another whole group.
Right.
And it was like a test run, because I've been doing paranormal for a very long time, and they were a good group, but everybody started going in their own direction, and I'm like, that's cool, go do your thing.
That happens,
and then I looked at the name, I'm like, how many people are going to take us serious? You know, CRS.
Yeah.
You know, I'm not going to say it on there, but you know what it means.
Right. Right.
But that was during the 90s.
Yeah.
And that was when people were just going. That was when Ghost Hunters, was that right? Ghost Adventures over in Europe was taking on, and it was just breaking. Yeah.
Right. No. Was it Ghost Hunters or Ghost Adventures? Now, I think didn't Halls come before Reagan's? Jason came before Zach, right? Yeah. Okay.
Right. Well, Ghost Adventures came after. I wish I could remember her name right offhand. Came after that show. It started in Europe first.
Yeah.
Started in England.
Right.
And that's when actually everybody was on AOL. Do you remember that?
Yeah, AOL. Oh, yeah. Good gosh.
And, yeah. So they were doing the live streaming on AOL, and everybody's like, oh, we get to go look at live streaming and all that. I'm going, oh, my God, it has happened.
Yeah.
It has really happened. So,
right. Right. And some could argue the point that it's happened a little too much and become too commercial. I think we kind of touched on that subject on your post last night about on this show in particular. I'll call out, people or groups, not by name, but they're more about the money and the fame than they are the actual research.
I know what you're talking about. You talk about the rant. Yeah. It's true, but in taking the time and we sit back and we can look, there's just a division in this field, and it's multiple, but there's an entertainment side, and then there is the research side, and sometimes those two cross. And for those of us in the research and investigation part, sometimes if we had hair, we would pull it out.
Right.
What the hell?
Right.
You have people out there making movies that think they can investigate and research. They start these public investigations and ruin the truth of it.
Right.
And there's other positives. Don't get me wrong. There are positive people in the entertainment field that are adding to what it is, but it's taking away from the true soul of this. And in fact, Chris, I'm not going to say his last name.
Okay.
Chris called me out on something. He goes, take your meds, man, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, hold on. I had a point to it. And my point was there really needs to stop some of this stuff. And the more the focus should return back to, the research and investigation.
Right.
But then again, there's people who are out there that want to experience it, but don't want to research it. They want to get the thrill. And I understand that.
Right.
I think we were all ghost hunters, yet I used that name in the beginning.
Yeah. Right.
Even it doesn't matter if you're classically trained or if you were brought up in it, or you got
if you were raised on Scooby-Doo, yeah. You know what I mean? It's kind of got a lot of people into it. Scooby-Doo, what can you say?
Yeah. Little Scooby-Doo, I'll go with that. And I would say this. If there was a moment that there would be a Scooby-Doo moment, it would be right now. Where the time we are living in right now is more of a Scooby-Doo scripted type thing.
Right.
In public investigations and in entertainment than it's ever been before. I agree with you there. That I will say.
Right. All right. So, through all your years with All Seeing, what can you say was your most awe-inspiring, like, oh my God moment that did not just happen? Can you think of one?
I have a lot of them.
Yeah. Okay.
I can think of a lot.
Let's hear them. Yeah.
We actually trained at a plantation home in Powhatan, Virginia.
Okay.
For 3 years. So we weren't one of those people, those groups that went out to like all of these locations that you have to pay to play. We had a location that a Virginia scientist actually had us come out to, and she said, I know they're here. I just want confirmation.
Right.
So I think my first awe moment was when I saw the lady in white.
Okay.
And she fit the book description. I got to give props to LB Taylor for leading us on. He was still alive when this, and me and Ryan reached out to LB, and he's like, look, if you can go there, go for it. You're not going to believe the experiences. So it was a place that people would have weddings and stuff at first, and then the scientist took over, and I'm not going to say her name.
Okay.
But in the story, there was a Confederate cavalry officer who lived there, and he found that his wife was sleeping with the neighbor.
Uh-oh.
And he murdered her.
Oh.
And pushed her down the ground staircase.
Yeah.
And she was in a white nightgown. So we're like, okay, well, that's pretty cool. So I got validation. The first true investigation we had there, I was in the dining room with Shannon. Shannon was we call them controllers.
Right.
They're the people who do the camera system.
Watch the monitor. Yeah.
So I was sitting face to face with her. Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And I was looking out the window and I saw this lady. And it looked like the lady from The Ring, Lee. It was like,
really?
Oh my God, am I really seeing that?
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
She leaned over because the door was off to the side of the dining room onto the porch. I saw her lean over the porch railing into the dining room and looking into the window.
Right.
And I was like, holy.
Yeah.
Beep.
Yeah, right.
I took off and ran through the back door. And everybody knew, like, oh, what the hell, Howie's, chasing something. I went out the door, met up with a bunch of investigators, nothing to be found. All around that area, nothing.
Right.
So that totally intrigued me. That was my first experience with the white lady.
Yeah.
Which is the myth. Let's do that. Let me say that, the myth of the white lady.
Okay.
I think another time was, I swear to you, Lee, that in this beautiful mansion was a 8-foot tall, 4-foot wide mirror.
Okay.
And it was giving off EMF readings, really high EMF readings. We're talking anywhere from 12 to 22 Gauss.
Right.
So anybody that understands what I'm talking about, that's huge.
Yeah, well, they say that mirrors can be portals.
And that mirror.
Yeah.
And I absolutely believe it. Because when we took the ratings on it, the things that we caught around that area, and that mirror had been there for at least 200 years.
Right.
It was, when the house was created, 1800s.
Right.
So I know for a fact we have documentation when that mirror came in.
Right.
So we caught Native American chanting, Native American medicine drums, Native American shaman chanting in this area. So I'm just like, oh, that is so incredibly awesome.
Yeah, it is.
So EVP wise, we had excellent responses with that. We had musket fire, we had gunfire, we had, this is another one. We were using black lights instead of infrared.
Right.
And we were taking a break. And my lead investigator was left behind, and he was coming back out. He went to go get a drink or whatever. But we heard two ladies flirting with him as he walked out the door. They stated, and this is on YouTube, so you can go to ASPS-Paranormal, and you can hear them going, oh, there he goes. Look at him. Oh, he's so handsome. Holy crud, man. That is like the holy grail.
All right. But he didn't hear any of it.
Then we had the other moment. No, none of us heard till we went back and reviewed the evidence. Wow. And there was a lot more. We actually had a man say, get off my yard. And that same night, myself and, no doubt, right? And that night, Kristen Whitmer and myself were in the front library, and we were doing an EVP session, and I'm about triggers. So I was using like 1800 fiddle, and bluegrass.
Okay.
So I set my phone on a stool in the middle of the room. I'm in one corner. Kristen is on the other side of the room. And, decent responses until one song started playing, and it was bluegrass.
Yeah.
And this is also on YouTube, where you can hear my phone and my response to it. The phone gets slung off of this stool 4 feet away. I mean, it's like, boom! And I'm like, holy mother of God, if it had wings, it'd flown.
Someone didn't like the music.
Like it,
no. All right.
No, not at all. So we had our research came from this location, and we're talking 2 years of solid investigation,
right?
Solid research with a documented scientist who lived at the home, and there was countless moments there. We've had other moments at other places, but that was primary. And I had another one.
Yeah. Okay.
If you want to hear about it, I got time to tell you more.
Right, sure do, man. Let it go. Let's hear it. I love that, though. I wish we could. Yeah, you say that one is on YouTube right now with your phone. I want to check that out. That's amazing.
Yes.
All right.
Yeah, check out ASPS Paranormal, and it talks about Belle Nemus. So anything that has to Belle Nemus, I would encourage anybody to go watch and listen to.
There you go.
So yeah, ASPS Paranormal.
Okay. All right. So number 2.
I've got to give props. This is giveaway to my first theory of conscious collective. We were at the Exchange Hotel in Gordonsville, Virginia. It's a well-known place to paranormal researchers in Virginia.
Right.
It was a hotel during the Civil War that was used for reconnaissance for the Confederates. It actually is the basis of what we know as the CIA today.
Okay.
So that's the Exchange Hospital and Museum in Orange County, but in Gordonsville, Virginia.
Okay.
We were doing an investigation there. We got cameras into the train depot. We had split up in teams. Tommy McNeil and Danielle Watson were up on the second floor, and they were reading off of some of the plaques that are there. Now, they did have their digital recorders going.
Okay.
And the most impactful EVP was caught when Danielle started to read one of the plaques, and you heard a voice come through the EVP saying, "That's me."
Oh.
And started telling the story. Yeah.
That's cool.
And it told the story of the plaque as Danielle was reading it. And then you heard Danielle go, "I feel something breathing on my shoulder, Tommy. What? And he's like, "No, it's just us, you know."
Right.
And she said, "I could feel the breathing." And you could hear something blow across her as she was reading this. So I'm like, man, that's multiple.
Right.
You know, it wasn't just one individual with her.
Right.
As she was reading it. So this plaque has to do with a spirit that's still at the time was still at the Exchange, and it was giving confirmation before she was asking any questions. It was telling the story, and I'm like, Eureka!
Right.
It just gave away to me in my theory of conscious collective and our thought, whatever we think, they already know. So why are you asking questions when you go in and telling them, "Oh, we're not here to bother you," or "We just have questions"? They already know, man.
Right.
We're going in thinking we know about the paranormal. Let me say this to all your listeners, and I'm going to say this, and this is my opinion and my statement.
Right.
We don't know anything about the paranormal anymore.
Oh, no.
We don't.
No.
Everybody out there goes, "I'm an expert," or "I do this," or
there's no
"I'm proficient,"
expert. No,
and this. You don't know.
Right. Yeah, if you call yourself an expert, if someone's calling themselves an expert, then move on, you know. Just be honest. You know, we're all learning. We have no clue. Really. We have theories, and that's all there is. It's theories.
This is still an experimental thing.
Right.
We need to go back to the early years of paranormal research. That's why I call myself, and that's why Kevin Malick named me a paralogian. We need to go back and really pay attention to what they learned the first time.
Right.
And utilize that to our advantage.
Right.
We need to understand that
I think,
now we're using the equipment.
I think some people make an attempt at that or call themselves doing that, but I think the biggest part of it all is the new toys and the new gadgets and the truth of what's really going on is lost with all the toys and all the fun and all the games. To me, that's my opinion.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. No, I agree with you. My mentor is a master electrician for Virginia Power. He's retired now.
Right.
And I had a conversation sitting down with him one day. He owns a novelty magical shop here in town.
Right.
And he's like, why are you using all this? Why are you doing it?
Right.
And I'm like, well, because of I've learned this. He goes, you've learned wrong. This is all wrong.
Right.
He goes, your dynamics are wrong. You're going in the wrong way.
Right.
You know, you're not looking in the right place.
Right.
You need to go outside the box now.
Exactly.
And I was like, holy crap.
Right.
And he's right. I mean, think about this. Let me ask you, Lee. Let me ask you this.
Okay.
Do you know where we have learned that we can detect paranormal activity with a EMF reader?
I don't know where it comes from, but
where was that documentary?
I don't know where it comes from, but I understand the dynamics behind it. I understand the electromagnetic field aspect of it, and the theory that ghosts are made up of.
Agreed.
Yeah, ghosts are in theory, put off or give off or use the electromagnetic. I can't talk. Electromagnetic field. Go ahead. Go ahead.
No, you're right.
Yep.
No, you're exactly right. But where's the documentation of somebody telling us, oh, this is it. This is what you need to be using. There is not. There is no. This is something that's been pulled out for 30 years. Going, this may be working. I'm glad you used the word ghost too.
Yeah.
Because that's right. Human entity.
Right.
Ghost.
Right.
Okay. We didn't use spirit. We didn't use entity. You used ghost, and that was perfect.
Right.
Now, I'm going to say this. That is what the general people and the paranormal think.
Right.
EMF. We're going to get a response with EMF. How do you know that all the entities are followed, used, or tracked by EMF? How do we even know that they exist in EMF? Why aren't we looking at the amps? Why aren't we looking at frequency?
Right.
We need to tear this all apart and go, okay, there's a lot more to this than EMFs and Gauss reading.
Right.
But we need to get to that point where we understand it, we're all on the same page and go, okay, let's tear it apart.
Right.
That's my opinion.
Right.
And that's one of the things I'm griping about is now is going, we need to redo all of this. How do we know that what's on the other side of the veil isn't just them doing paranormal research to us?
To us, right.
How many times have you heard, can they hear me?
Right. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, that's...
How many times have you heard, can they see me?
Right. And sometimes they do, evidently. And sometimes it's a replay. I mean, it's, there's so many. Speaking
echo.
Yeah. Speaking of that, in our 101, one of the tools that we use is so simple, and it's nothing but a compass. If there's an electromagnetic field disruption, that's going to affect that compass. Not all your toys with all the lights and all this kind of thing. It's going to affect that magnetic compass, right? And we've seen that happen.
Right. Now, here is where I get to throw in a wrench into the screw job of that.
Okay.
When people do the research and start to and they dive deeper and deeper into scientific points of view and into quantum,
right,
there is what is called an electrostatic cloud that travels.
Right.
It's proven, it's seen, it's documented.
Right.
That can move like a thunderstorm.
Right.
Hence, this gives away to times of seeing or quote, and giving off that EMF field.
Right.
So people are going to mistaking this for a paranormal phenomenon or experience, which it is. It's still paranormal.
Right.
Just in people's thought of paranormal is ghosts and spirits.
Right.
It's still paranormal phenomenon, but it is not the ghost spirit.
Right.
It's a scientific phenomenon.
Right.
So we got to be careful. We have to be aware that that is there.
Yeah,
we have to take the provocation out of that.
I mean, even using a K2, just way back in the day, we went to a supposedly haunted location. Right. It was a covered bridge, and we began to get spikes. And I kind of, honestly, it's running water, okay, and to some degree, that running water is going to generate some kind of power there, some kind of electromagnetic field, and I think that might have been what was setting off that K2. Could be. I could be wrong.
I agree. No, I agree with you. And I'm going to back you up on this, okay?
Yeah.
And we're going to go to it because if you're going to do your research, folks, do your research.
Right.
Aleister Crowley documented that structures can retain energy.
Right.
He documented that certain, even hallways, doorways. Now you're talking about a covered bridge.
Right.
Now you're talking about a huge location.
Right.
That can retain that and circulate that in quantum science through quantum mathematics and physics, how this energy can roll. You have flowing water. Who knows what kind of minerals are there?
Right.
Quartz. I'm not going to go into the whole depth thing, but running water, you have this covered bridge.
Yep.
Maybe this bridge has a specific structure, so it's retaining that energy. So that energy is going to turn into electromagnetic field because that's what water gives off.
Right.
Yes.
Right.
I totally agree. I experienced that in Gettysburg.
There you go. Yeah. See, I knew I wasn't wrong. I knew I wasn't crazy. Right.
I love it, dude. That's why I got into this.
Right.
You know what got me hooked?
What's that?
I'm not gonna lie.
What's that?
Is I watched the Bigfoot movie back in the 70s. I think it was 77.
Oh yeah, that was Boggy Creek. Boggy Creek.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Where they were, Yep.
Yeah.
And it got me hooked. That's what got me really into all of the paranormal. Okay, because that I still consider that paranormal.
Yes, I do too.
Because it's something strange, unusual, the oddity.
Right.
And my dad then saw what I was doing, and we would go camping, and I'd do silly little stuff, like you're making tripwires. Why? Blah 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 blah. But then my dad started feeding me. He started training me.
Right.
Simply, and I didn't know it. But then he's like, okay, well, you got this, this, and this. What are you going to do? He put me in scenarios. And then there was times that I would talk with my family, like my uncles, sitting around the kitchen table, and we would discuss it, and it just fed me more and more and more. And I'm like, because my uncle was a nuclear submarine commander.
Oh,
so you got that there. You got my father, who was an Air Force intelligence officer.
Wow. Yeah.
My mother's side of the family had ESP. So I'm like a witch's broom, man.
Right.
So that's what drove me.
Right. Well, you really didn't have a choice in life, right? I mean, you were directed there.
I really didn't. Yeah, it was kind of like I was led this way, and then my first experience was with a group of my friends. We came across a spirit now that we didn't know then that had committed suicide 2 days before 2 days prior to us experiencing it.
Oh, wow.
And when I was asked a question on one of the radio shows about 2 years ago, it really started to make me think, because I used to think, my first experience was at Hargrave. No, it wasn't.
Yep.
No, it was when I was 13 or 14 years old, and I was like, holy crap. And then I told my brother had a piss fit, and then I told all the other guys, and they were like, holy crap. I'm like, yeah, this was our first experience. We had it together.
Right.
And the guys were so cool about it. They're like, oh, wow. But then I had some experiences at Hargrave Military Academy that kind of really led me into what we're doing now. So I had great mentors at Hargrave. Roger Wilkes, Captain Gross, Captain Reese, Chappie Wydell, that all kind of mentored me when I graduated to do what I'm doing now. So
Right.
how many people can say they had that many mentors and still have mentors,
Right.
and still being fed? And then when I say fed, I mean you're unconsciously being trained. You're unconsciously researching. That increases your wanting to research, and you're putting that out there going, I already knew this. You read it in a book, I already knew this. How the hell do I know this?
Right.
Because for years here I am with 8 different individuals feeding me information. I'm going, wow, that's pretty cool.
Right.
How many people can say that? That's
Right.
pretty damn cool.
That is very cool. Very cool. All right, man, we're going to run out of time real quickly. We want to know, first of all, the Rift Radio Network. You guys can, what's the actual email address on that? Or not email, I'm sorry. What's the actual address?
Yeah, absolutely. It is the Rift Podcast Radio Network. We're found on Blog Talk Radio. We have shows all through the week. You can find us at Blog Talk Radio, the Rift at gmail.com.
There you go.
You can find us on Facebook through our main page, which is the Rift Radio Podcast Network, or any of the shows all have their independent pages.
Okay.
You can find us on all major platforms now. We're shared out through Blog Talk Radio.
Right.
I cannot speak highly enough more for Blog Talk for actually producing our shows.
Right. That is cool. And now, what, if anything, is going on with the? I neglected to mention the Orion Effect podcast. Is that part of the Rift, or a completely different entity?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Nope. The Orion Effect is my podcast on the network. It's on Sundays from 7 to 9.
Okay.
Myself and Kat and Kim talk about everything: paranormal, supernatural, ufology, cryptozoology, spirituality.
Wow.
We shoot it all. Monday nights is Haunted Tales with Haunted Tales from the Old Rocking Chair with Sherry Lynn. Tuesday nights is Christy Groins and Jody Templeton Skinner with True Crimes, Mysteries Behind the Veil.
Right.
Wednesday nights is Mary Barrett and Stephanie Lee Peake with Evenings with Dr. Mary Barrett.
Very cool. Now, are any of these? I'm sure they are. There's some of them are video, and some of them like ours is just audio.
Mm-hmm.
Or you have audio and
yeah,
video.
The Orion Effect. Yeah, the Orion Effect is actually on the Facebook Live at the moment and on podcast. We're all moving towards StreamYard to expand the network itself.
Okay.
Haunted Tales, it's both podcast and video. Tuesday nights, True Crimes is heading towards video and podcast, but Wednesday nights is only strictly podcast right now, while we have 8 more shows lined up.
Very cool. Very cool. Howie Odell. Guys, check him out. Check out the different podcasts. Awesome to hear from you. Awesome to talk to you again, and we will somehow or another. We're going to get on the network with you. I know we've been talking about it for a while. I just having trouble making things happen right now.
Don't worry, we're going to make that happen. And I love your show. You and Michelle are incredible.
Well,
I can't speak highly enough of you guys. I love it. Thank you so much for having me on and being a part of this. And remember that there's one thing that is always constant about me, the Cosmic Surfer himself, the Mad Hatter of the paranormal, is you just never know what I'm going to do next.
Right.
Thank you.
All right, we're gonna have you back, man.
I want to so bad.
All
I'll
right.
get Cat next time.
All right. Oh yes, please do. All right. Howie Odell, everyone.
This is the Dead Zone Paranormal Radio Show.
Thanks for listening.